You ever feel like you're missing that edge on Icebox when you're playing Viper? Maybe your team's asking you to pick up Viper and you just gotta figure it out. Icebox is kind of like Viper's golden map. There's a ton of lurk opportunities and stall potential, which makes Viper an agent that is just indispensable. And that's why today I'm going to share with you every single setup you need to main Viper on Icebox. These setups are going to transform your game, giving you the upper hand in literally every situation you encounter. So get ready, because by the end of this guide, you're going to have all the tools you need to become a Viper master on Icebox. So to start off, we're going to be showcasing a few of the most important setups that every Viper player needs to know. These go beyond the common setups that you see every single game, but provide really an insane amount of value. Whether you're on solo as Viper on Icebox or you're paired with another controller, the classic mid Smoke Orb will always be a powerful attacking or lurking tool. Even if you're not yet committed to a specific site push, this orb placement can always instill fear and doubt in your enemies. It's up to you and your team to take advantage of this by sending a mid lurk or by simply leaving it to cause confusion. Now, to do this orb lineup, stand on top of this box right at the corner. Then look towards this mountain area. You should be able to see a small dark patch where you're going to be aiming your crosshair at. Throw your Smoke Orb in that direction and it should land perfectly on mid. This is going to give you enough coverage from rat hole and mid boiler, allowing you to creep up to kitchen or rat hole. If you're a solo controller, it's best to save your wall for where your team is actually going to push, since you can no longer recover the Smoke Orb. Now, while this ult lineup may not always be easy to pull off, it's definitely a legendary setup that's overpowered if it's done correctly. If you manage to clear sight or take space in kitchen, you can cover a massive area with your Viper's Pit. To do this ult lineup, go to the middle of this bridge and align yourself towards the edge. Pull out your Viper's Pit and aim towards this direction on kitchen. Once you cast your ult, you can see how massive the area it's able to cover is. This includes the entire top site and kitchen. You can either plant on this bridge or anywhere on top site. And also, if you're up to the challenge of some true mind games here, you can also creep your way through orange for an unexpected repositioning. By the way, if you find this video helpful, we highly recommend checking out our brand new Viper course over at SkillCapped, where we have more Viper setups for literally every single map. Not only that, but we also cover every single mechanic that Viper players need to master to get absolutely cracked in the game. Our team has spent so much time simplifying the process that it takes to get good at Valorant, so that literally anyone can learn to frag like the pros do. In just 1 month, we're going to get you from looking like this, well, to looking a little bit more like this. We are so confident in this fact that we offer a rank improvement guarantee, meaning that if you don't climb, you're not going to pay. We're going to get back to Icebox now, but if you're looking to climb this act, just be sure to check out SkillCapped using the link below for a discount. One of the best and commonly used passive defensive setups for A is the default 410 wall. To do this wall, make your way towards the outside area of A screens. Align yourself right on this edge, then pull out your wall while checking your minimap. The middle part of your wall's reference line on the minimap should align towards the edge of 410. Don't forget to aim your wall high so that it'll go right above 410. After throwing your wall, you can see how this setup covers the top of 410 and the entry points of Maze. This wall will give the enemy team a really hard time flooding the site because of the wall's coverage. Brave peekers will also be prone to getting easily shut down due to the vulnerable debuff. As for your Smoke Orb, you can either save it for retake or use the Smoke Orb pipes lineup. You can do this orb lineup by standing on top of this box right over this corner. Just look over to the opposite end of the zip line and aim your crosshair right on the top of this intersection. Pull out your Smoke Orb and do a normal throw. This should land perfectly on top of pipes, covering the general area over here, as well as providing a nice little one-way for your teammates holding from Maze. If you're looking for early A main control, you and your team can try a PRX style aggression with this next setup. Stand near the edge of 410 and align yourself towards this line on screens. Aim your crosshair towards this corner on the fluorescent light, then throw your wall in that direction. From the exact same position, you can throw a molly towards the entry point of belt by aiming at this corner. As soon as the barrier drops, you can activate your wall and throw that molly while your teammates push towards belt and A main. This setup can easily counter an A rush, especially if they're coming from belt. You can also just save your Smoke Orb for retake to have a handy backup plan in case your team needs coverage elsewhere later in the round. Defending B site as Viper isn't as complex as defending A. Due to the narrow passage of its entry points, holding angles is so much easier. The first setup can be used for passive holds or sneaky creep ups, and it also allows you to gain non-risky B control with a simple wall up. Stand directly towards this danger sign and align your wall towards the entry points of B garage. Use your minimap as a reference to align the wall perfectly. If your team decides to do an early push or a creep up, this wall setup can help you sneak your way into B garage with absolute ease. Now, as for the enemy team, they're going to have to phase through the wall and get vulnerable multiple times before they can get a comfortable peek. And on the other hand, your Smoke Orb can be used either for retakes or a B main one-way. Now for the second setup. Aggression is the name of the game, and it's ideal to grab a buddy or two to support the push for best results. Just right before the barrier, stand all the way to the edge of this wall and aim your toxic screen straight to cover the entry points of B main here and here. If you're expecting a fast push or rush onto B site, you can wall up as soon as the barrier drops and throw a snakebite right here. One of your teammates can cover the B garage entry point with either a judge or stinger, and the goal here is to push forward and control B main, so rush towards the farthest entry point after throwing the molly. Anyone passing by is going to be decayed and vulnerable, allowing for easy kills. This setup works best on an eco round, so do bring along your shotguns and run and gun weapons to overwhelm your enemies. Since Viper's Smoke Orb can no longer be retrieved, you just save it for a retake, as it won't be necessary for this wall setup. While it's not always viable to commit your toxic screen in mid, a heavy mid setup can make a difference, especially if the enemy team is pushing this area a lot. You can easily slow down their mid push by placing your wall right here from the top of boiler. Just make sure to align your toxic screen right at the entry point of mid. This wall covers the entire entry point, and anyone brave enough to peek is going to be decayed for easy kills. Mid defenders can hold this angle from the window at tube, the entry point of tube, and rat hole. If you don't want to commit your toxic screen only to cover mid, you can use this passive B to mid wall setup. This wall will cover the choke points here, as well as the entrance of tube and mid. Stand over the rightmost area of yellow and align yourself towards the line right here. Make sure to aim your toxic screen this low in order to cover the entry point of tube. Take 2 to 3 short steps forward before setting up your wall to fully cover mid. This wall has a small gap on the right side, but it's going to help mid defenders hold angles from tube and boiler. Attacking a site as Viper provides a lot of room for creativity due to its site structure. The reason why Viper is one of the go-to controller agents on Icebox is because of her massive coverage brought by the toxic screen and poison orb. To get started on your attacking setup, you can simply stand on the left side of this entry point and align your wall until it covers the edge of screens on your minimap. Now for your Smoke Orb, head over to this corner and aim your crosshair at this small crack. Once you find the reference point, move a little to the left and do a jumping throw. The orb will land on top of nest, creating a high-value post plant later on. Meanwhile, your wall will cover the entry point of screens as well as the top part. If you have teammates pushing or holding back sight, they can peek through this small gap left by the toxic screen. As for your Smoke Orb, you can do post plant lineups on top of nest, open plant, or default plant. For the nest lineup, head back to this corner where we threw the Smoke Orb from. If you're unsure if there are any flanks, get a buddy to help you or hold the angle first while delaying time. Now for the lineup, use the same crack as your reference, but this time don't move your crosshair towards the left. If the spike is planted open, head over to the left side of this entry point. Then aim your crosshair at this corner on the ceiling and throw your molly. Now if the spike is planted on default, you can head back to the same location as the last molly lineup. Look for this line on the ceiling and follow it until it meets this line. From that semi-intersection, slightly move your crosshair upwards until you reach the middle, and then throw your molly. Take caution in using post-plant Viper Molly since she currently only has a single charge that lasts for 7 seconds. You can also use the Nest Smoke Orb as a one-way if you plant open or plant default. For the second A attack setup, you can reuse the same wall for screens thanks to its high value and coverage. The difference in this setup though is going to be the position of the Smoke Orb lineup. You'll have to clear some angles in A main first so you can get into position here. Stand on top of the ping and look for this corner on the ceiling. Slightly move your crosshair above the reference point and throw your Smoke Orb. The orb will land on top of this green box here, providing coverage from the right side of backside and rafters. You can also use this setup for a post-plant Molly lineup if you plant the spike open. A Viper attack on B site isn't as flexible as pushing A. However, there are still some reliable setups you can use to secure the site and guarantee a punishing post-plant. To start off, wait for the barrier to drop and head to this corner in B garage. Align your wall towards the edge of Snowman as seen on the minimap. Make sure to aim your toxic screen high to cover B nest. For the orb lineup, take space on B main and clear the necessary angles. Line yourself to this green container box and aim your crosshair at the corner of this construction machine, then throw your Smoke Orb. The toxic screen will provide coverage for taking site, while the poison orb will create a one-way for the diffusers if you plant under nest. On the second setup, we're going to be using the same wall, but instead of a one-way Smoke Orb, we're going to be doing a post-plant orb lineup on default. To do this lineup, head over to this corner on the entry point of garage, aim your crosshair towards the corner of this dark patch, and do a running throw. This is going to give the spike enough coverage for a post-plant Molly lineup. For the first lineup, head over to this area of B garage. Look towards this cloud with a mouth shape and aim your crosshair right in the middle of the mouth. This Molly should land perfectly on default. For the second lineup, if you have teammates covering you from here and here, you can jump on top of this box and aim your crosshair right on this line. Say you want to do an unorthodox push with your team on mid with minimal casualties. It might be worth giving this mid push to spawn or A screens a shot once in a while to create unexpected chaos. Now to do this setup, head over to the right side of this entry point to garage. Use your minimap as reference when placing your toxic screen. Just make sure that your wall covers the entry point of tube, rat hole, and boiler while leaving a narrow passage on the right. This wall allows your team to creep up mid while worrying less about these angles. Once you cross boiler, you can either push to spawn or take space from A screens. If you have enough fuel, you can also use your Smoke Orb here to allow your team to enter A screens more safely. For our second mid setup, you'll only be needing your Poison Orb. This gives your team the flexibility to adjust according to the situation by holding on to your toxic screen. You can do this boiler lineup by standing on top of this box. Aim your crosshair on the tip of this light, then slightly move to the left until you reach the middle part of this area. Take out your Smoke Orb and do a normal throw. This smoke covers the entire boiler area, allowing you to isolate fights in tube or rat hole. Here at SkillCapped, we like to go the extra mile though. That's why we're going to be following up all these setups with a couple of Molly lineups you can use for to either stall plants or post plants. This first lineup goes directly to the default plant spot on A site. You can use this to buy time for your team to rotate or even get a kill or assist while denying the enemy team from planting. On a passive A site hold, head to this area right outside of screens. Stand on this corner and aim your crosshair right in the middle of this box line. This can help deny the plant or set up a kill for your teammates if they peek off the Molly contact. Now, of course, we can't forget a rotational lineup to deny plant on B site. While most Viper players on Icebox tend to hold the A site, a global presence that reaches B can be a huge difference maker. If you're holding A site and your team tells you that the enemies are pushing B, you can head over to this corner beside the ramp to boiler. Look at the Kingdom logo on mid and use the tip of this corner as a reference point. Pull out your Molly and align the leftmost tip of your Snakebite HUD on the reference point. This will either deny the plant or assist your teammates for potential picks. It also buys you time as you rotate to B. For one of the best and sneakiest Viper ult setups, let's make our way towards the A site. As soon as your team creates space on site, go up the ropes on nest and aim your ult on top of rafters. This ult creates a one-way for your team if the enemy decides to push on top of rafters. Just make sure to have a teammate cover this area of backside as well as default. As soon as your enemies go for a retake through rafters, they're going to be met with demise with this nasty one-way. All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're going to get ripped. Your local gym probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.